Hello everyone, Zane here and welcome to my part 2 series of how to make gil and each expansion. Today we're going to be looking at the heavensward expansion as well as looking at methods in A Realm Reborn since we have access to both in this video. Now before we continue with this video, if you guys want early access to my gil making guides as well as early access to my list of items to sell on the market board, consider becoming a YouTube member, a Patreon supporter, or support me on Ko-Fi. The links for all those will be in the description down below. And a disclaimer, as always, make sure you check your market board before selling anything in this video. This way you guys don't waste time selling things that just don't want to sell on your server. Now, I tried to make as much gil as I possibly could from the heavensward items and not rely on anything else. Now, I did not add in crystals and clusters to this guide because I'm going to need as many as I can for Dawn Trail, so I tried other avenues. So this retainer here had the most gil made, and this one simply was by doing dye farming, or selling actually. So the pure white dye can come from either Palace of the Dead, which is a Realm Reborn, if you're lucky for the Cursed Coffers, I think silver and above, but they also can come from Retainer Adventures. The Pearl White and the Gunmetal Black came from the Ishgard Restoration. I didn't sell mounts from that place because I already made a video on how to make gil from the restoration, and I didn't want to suffer to the diadem. So I stuck with the dyes that I had available on me and got some from my scripts. And as you can see, the Gunmetal Black and Pearl White were going for almost 20,000 gil. Now, Jet Black dye went for almost 600,000, while the Pure White went from 400 to 300, depending on the day. You also have stuff like Dark Red dye, Pastel Pink, and all the metallic dyes from the Adventure Coffers, which ultimately you do from Quick Adventures. They are about an hour each time, and more retainers you have, the higher chance of you getting them. I think it's determined by your gear level or item level. So if you're lucky enough to get them, you have a chance to get those dyes, or a chance to get something a lot less. Luckily for me, I kept 3 of them on my person, just in case I didn't get anything from this demonstration, which of course I didn't. So these coffers right here is what you're looking for. So let's open these up and hopefully I get one. So we got Pastel Green, which is useless. You can get a Retainer Fantasia, unfortunately, to change your retainer, obviously. And Dark Brown dye. Unfortunately, we did not get anything good. So if we actually check the market board for these, brown dye, it's not bad. Not great, but not bad. The green, pretty meh, and Retainer Fantasias, definitely think about selling them because they're pretty decent, but you gotta make do with what you got. So I'm just going to vendor that. Now, since we are in this retainer, my first one has Lotus Leaves. Now, this is the only time I say go back to A Realm Reborn and do the leather skin maps, which I'll show you guys how to get a little bit later. But these suckers are going for almost 400,000 gil. And what they ultimately make is an indoor furnishing to your house. Also, a parasol that you can use in your front yard. So I made almost 800,000 gil out of 2. They are pretty rare to get, so if you have alts, make them gather their maps as well, and then transfer them over to your main. This one right here has most of the stuff that I sold from heavensward specifically. Unfortunately, I can't go further than the 25th of March. But what I have sold was titanium ingots, Ormregas nuggets, wyvern wings. The wyvern skin I probably would pass on. The Dravanian mistletoe, yak milk, the rue, hard silver ingots, adamantite nuggets, which you're definitely going to be using for class quests, The Astral Moran, I tried to sell more of these because they are used in Astral Oil, and the Astral Oil is used in making grade 3 free company actions. Titanium ore, they aren't selling as high as I used to when I made that video way back a couple months ago. Adamantite ore. The other stuff that I sold were quartz and tea leaves. I sold mithrite ore, which is also hidden. Stuff like that. Anything that I can basically get my hands on that are used in submarines and airship parts. And then this one here, I tried to dabble in with the diadem, which I had a crap ton of stock in my free company chest, but I kind of didn't care too much because it was just so little gil that I didn't really bother going past this. But if you guys want to sell stuff on the diadem, I highly recommend that as well. And this is all back from my other Realm Reborn video, so if you want to mix in crystals and clusters, as you can see here, definitely would take advantage of that, but only if you have a surplus. Do not shortchange yourself because you will need some for Dawn Trail when that comes out in early July. Early access is June 28th. And the 2nd of July is when it fully releases. So that's basically all the stuff that I have sold in the past month. Now, the other way is, of course, the non-market bought options. Now, the challenge log, as I said in the last video, we didn't have too much access to it because our Realm Reborn is so limited. But the only thing that we're adding in to the heavensward beyond what you see here is you're going to be adding in the Wondrous Tales, which you unlocked on Idleshire for 2,000 gil. And under the treasure hunts, we have treasure map dungeons. The dragon skin ones are the easiest ones to do in heavensward. If you have a blue mage, you can easily knock those out pretty quickly. Otherwise, I ultimately recommend just sticking to the leather maps and a Realm Reborn because, again, the Lotus Leaf will give you more gil than a treasure map dungeon, since most of the gear or the items in that dungeon don't really go for that much. But everything else you want to continuously do to get that gil, especially the complete ones where you get 10,000 for each one, then a hefty 15,000 for the final one. Once we get into Stormblood, we can start adding in Eureka, which is going to be where most of the money is going to come from, which is going to be my favorite area to go to. But that is going to be in Stormblood. But do your challenge log the best you can. Next, we're going to go to Ishgard, and I'm going to show you guys the new and improved hunt system that was implemented. But remember, you have to unlock that at level 50 at your Grand Company after hitting 2nd Lieutenant in your Grand Company. So I'll see you guys in Ishgard. Alright, so here we are outside of the Forgotten Night in Ishgard. So the first two will be unlocked in the Forgotten Night, but the third one will be unlocked in Idleshire. This one here, the weekly B rank, will be unlocked here after you unlock the first three. Obviously, you have to unlock this at your Grand Company first. So the B rank will give you 5,000 gil per week and 100 Centurial Seals. That is the currency for the hunt in Stormblood and Heavensward. The first daily will give you 1,000 gil for each killed. So that's 5,000 gil and 3 Centurial Seals apiece. So that's 15. Part 2, 1,000 gil, so another 5,000. This time 4 Centurial Seals. So that's 20. And then the final one will give you 1,500 for 7,500 altogether. And you get 15 Centurial Seals per one completed. So add all that up, plus the weekly B rank, and that's how much gil you will get from the hunt. Now, it's going to cost you gil, obviously, to teleport. So by coming to the man here, option 1, Aetheryte tickets, 5 per Aetheryte ticket. So make sure that you use those to teleport for free, and all that gil goes to you. And that is what you guys do for the hunt. So you can go back to a Reborn, do those hunts, add in the hunt from Heavensward to make yourself some good gil. Next is the Leave quests. Now thankfully this has been upgraded since I Realm Reborn to make this a little bit easier. The giver and receiver are in the same area, right across from the Machinist Guild Aetheryte, or the main Aetheryte, which is down below. So you have two options: single or the 10 allowance ones, which is large scale, difference being better rewards. This one right here is the repeatable, like you can tell by the lady and the spindle. And then the blacksmith one is going to be the single turn-ins. Passing them high quality will give you double the reward. So which ones you want to do is up to you. You get 100 allowances for the max. Anything past that, you're basically wasting them, and it takes about 17 days to get 100 back. You get 6 per day. The items that you pass in are the same, regardless if you're doing single or the temple leaves. So it doesn't really matter in the end. But I did make a video on which ones are best to do. Most of them are single turn-ins instead of triple. So make sure to look at that video, which I'll be linking down below. That is going to be completely up to you. To know when you're going to get more allowances, in the timers tab at the bottom, it tells you right here. So next is going to be the tribal quests. Now remember, in A Realm Reborn I said that they are going to give you more gil than the heavensward and beyond. So with the Vanu, they give you 609 for each one. It's still weaker than A Realm Reborn, which I'll go back to show you. And to unlock that, you just simply come over here to the chief, and he'll unlock this for you by doing the story in the Sea of Clouds. Now, to the other one, you're going to go to Tailfeather and the Dravanian Forelands for the Nath. So here in the Forelands, right about here, you will talk to the storyteller after finishing the story in the Forelands to unlock the Nath tribe. Now these are going to only give you 489 gil, 517, and 545. Much less than the A Realm Reborn tribe. But the good thing about it is that you can use their currency to basically buy you materials. You got stuff for your chocobo to level them up, but you also got stuff that you guys can use for the relic weapon and also for your adventure plate, as well as music and of course ventures. But if you're going for gil specifically, you want to go back to A Realm Reborn and get that. But if you guys want to level up your Nath and your Vanu, I highly recommend using at least 6 of your allowances to get that done, and then head back to A Realm Reborn. Obviously, we're going to be skipping the Mughals since they are crafters only. But those are your 2 options for heavensward beast tribes. Now let's look at the duty finder. So the roulettes, we have 50 and now 60 dungeons available. It's still 7,200 for adventure in need, but the heavensward dungeons will drop gil. Leveling 12,000, trial 4320, main scenario 7,200, guild test 1,800, alliance raid 7,200, and now we have access to normal raid for 1440 gil. This is the Alexander raid that you have unlocked in Ilishar by talking to Slowfix. I believe the quest is called Disarmed, so you'll be able to add this to your repertoire of gil making. Mentor is not something you can do just yet, so you can skip it, and Front Lines doesn't give you anything besides tombstones, so don't worry about that. But continue doing this every single day. Make sure your adventure in need. If you're a tank, healer, or sometimes DPS, take advantage of it, or become all 3. This way you guys can cover all your bases. But the normal raid is the only thing that we're adding into this mix. So make sure you do that every single day when it resets. For us on the East Coast, it's 11 a.m. So I did mention this in my Realm Reborn portion, but the Grant Company has an excellent source of gil. And that's going to be here with the duck bones, or basically any of these items here that sell for 360 gil. This is going to be straight up, and I think you get around 54,000 every 90,000 Grant Company seals. But most likely you won't have access to that because you have to go through your squadron system for that to happen. Other people swear by hardened sap and coke because those are used in materials for submarines and stuff, but In my honest opinion, I tried doing it and I did not make as much money as I would like to, because my server is just a bunch of people who are just inconsiderate or just want the gil now. So by doing these here, you get straight up gil, no market board, just sell them to a vendor and walk away happy. So when you're doing your expert deliveries, you'll be passing in loot that you get from doing quick ventures, dungeon runs, and the like, so make sure you greed and need everything. Having the seal sweetener 2 buff up from your free company, I don't have any right now. Go to the OIC quartermaster to get those. Seal sweetener 2 gives you a 10% increase. The grade 3 you're gonna have to make in your free company workshop. And then you guys can pass in any loot that you get from the quick ventures. And now you guys can go and buy your duck bones now. So I have 830 on my person right now. So let's get 99 more. A little shy from 950, but that's all right. So now we're going to go to the vendor and we're going to get rid of all these items. All right, so we're back at the marketplace. So talk to any NPC, or you can do this from your retainer. And go ahead and vendor. So before we do this, my gil at the bottom right of my screen is 1,731,000. That's from doing all of the non-market board ways of making gil. Beast drives, challenge log, roulettes, and of course the hunt and stuff like that. So adding in that gil on top of my duck bones, which is 341,280 for the 948, I have a grand total of 1,342,011 gil. Now, for 90,000 Grand Company seals, you should be able to get 150 duck bones. So if I take that and split it up, and now vendor it, 54,000 gil for 90,000 Grand Company seals. So that's how much you'll make every time you cap out. All right, so combining that to what we have in my retainer, and I end up with a grand total of 6,809,836 gil. Now I could have made way more than this if I just started selling crystals and clusters, but like I said, I need those for Dawn Trail, so I didn't add that into the mix. And obviously if I took this more seriously, I could have made over 10 million gil, but I was doing this in conjunction with other videos. Now let's go over some market board items that my retainer could not show. So the first thing is going to be high mithrite ingots. These are used in airship, submarine making, but also glamour weapons. So there's only 3 hits on my server, it's almost going for 5,000 gil. And as you can see, somebody cleared out the market board for that. You will need Master Recipe Book number 4, and also you need the, I think, the Gervanian or Albathian folklore book for gatherers. Icon Mithrite can be gotten through Poetics in Ilshire, or can be used in the Ishgard Restoration by getting Sky tokens. The Lum Mithrite ore is going to be in the Mists for the folklore book, and Mithrite is hidden in the Corthan Western Highlands area. And that's going to be around 2 to 4 a.m. and p.m., which is going to be right here. Since we're on the topic of mithrite, we're going to go with the mithrite ore. So because they're hidden, they go for 320 gil a piece. Definitely seems to be selling quite nicely, and I would recommend stacks of 99. Next is the Deep Eye Tears. which are used in dissolvents and also for inks as well. They're abundant in the first area of the Western Highlands, so you should be able to find a gaggle of them and use a ranged DPS to wipe them all out. So I bought this one out because they were selling for 99, which is about undercutting. So try to do stacks of 10 to 20 because it takes 4 to make one dissolvent, but the dissolvent comes in 3s. Next is going to be the tea leaves, which is used to make the Archeonis and the Wyvern leather. 10 AM and PM in Cortland, Western Highlands. It's around 695 gil, up to 1500. Just ignore these two people. Sales history is all over the place, but it's a starter if you're in the heavensward expansion. Definitely useful. Next is the Chimera main, which is probably the most annoyingest ones to get because the Chimeras are very few and far between. And Azazla, which you need for a chimerical felt. So they are pretty cheap, but again, there are a pain in the butt to get, unless you have your retainers to get them for you. But the sales history is a little bit better than the tea leaf itself. So something to look into. Hopefully your server is a lot better than mine. Last is going to be the dark chestnut logs. These are used in the Empatier and Dragon leather. A little bit on the cheap side, but if you're starting out in Heavensward, this is something you guys can focus on as a botanist. And the sales history shows that they're selling, but not as high as I would like, at least on my server. Hopefully you have better luck than I do. You need 5 to make 1 lumber. I don't know how many you need to make a leather with, though. So let's see here. Oh, and also Delmel leather as well. I forgot to mention that. So in order to make the leather, you need 1 for that. So it looks like 1 for each leather. But you need 5 to make the logs. So those are the other items that I have sold on the market board that my retainer unfortunately could not show me. So hopefully you guys have better luck on your servers for some of these that just did not sell for very high on mine. So here we are in Ishgard, the firmament. I want to go to the right side here, talk to this trader. So these spoils right here, I think it's going to be silver, or the steel, for 40 scripts apiece. You're going to use these to get yourself the Icon Mithril nuggets. The bottom here, you'll have the dye, 500 for gunmetal black, pearl white. But also make sure to check the market board for ruby red, dragoon blue, because some of these might sell for more than these. It also might be a little bit easier to get these than it is to get the dyes here. If the fates are up, which you can see the timer to the right, do the fates there, and you will get the presents, which can pop up to be jet black dye, pure white dye, some of this stuff, and other materials that you also can get. Or you guys can get these tokens, which you also can exchange for prizes. You need at least 4 for a dye if you do that. And also you can get the amount and stuff like that. Alright, so I'm going to go to the old spot where the diadem used to be, and I'll show you guys where to exchange those sky spoils. So here we are at the Astrologians Guild. This is where the old diadem entrance used to be. So I'll talk to the collector. And correction, it's going to be brass spoils, not steel. So brass, for 1, you get 4 icon mithrites. And then you have the rest of the items that you guys can get with poetics. But if you guys want to do it this way, a little bit easier, you can. And if you're ever looking for the crystals in order to make the free company actions grade 3, this is where you'll find them as well. A hell of a lot easier to get them through here than it is through the market board, and it gives you 6 of these clusters for 1 spoil if you guys are looking for these for Dawn Trail. But that is where you guys will find that if you don't want to spend your poetics. So in South Shroud, right next to the Earth's Gift area, is where you're going to get your map. So if you have Luck of the Mountaineer, or Pioneer if you're doing Botanist, this is going to uncover your hidden map. If you get goat skin, then just go to another node and repeat the process. If you're going to be doing this for botanist, it's going to be in Wineport, right about here. The other problem is that with botanist, you have seeds from the almonds here, so you might have to be dealing with that. So I best would go with miner. So after you got your map, decipher it. And then you have to find it on the map. I believe it's going to be right here. L1 and R1 for the map location if you're on controller. And now let's go get it. So once you're in the area, go ahead and use dig. Open it up and kill the territorial enemies. So you got about 10 minutes to complete the treasure. Now you're not guaranteed the lotus leaf, so let's get our fingers crossed. And we did not get one. But we did get a good chunk of gil. Now you can get a regular amount, or you guys can get an increased amount. That's going to be RNG as well. So you're going to be doing that every 18 hours. Under timers, you'll find that right here. Or you guys can get more off the market board, but those are overpriced. But if you're lucky enough to get a lotus leaf in the leather maps, you guys are looking at 500,000 gil right there, based on your server. So good luck with that. So those are the ways I made gil in Heavensward and all the items that I have sold. So hopefully this helps you guys make gil in your Heavensward journey. And then when we get to Stormblood, the gloves are off because we get to go into Eureka. And that is the best place to go. So I will see you guys in the next one when we hit the Stormblood expansion. And that's going to be it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to support the channel, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share for more Final Fantasy XIV content and help with the YouTube algorithm. If you guys want to support my channel even further, consider becoming a Patreon supporter, YouTube member, or support me on Ko-Fi. Links in the description down below. And a huge thank you to all my YouTube members, Patreon supporters, and Ko-Fi members. And a huge extra thank you to the members on screen. So until next time, be sure to walk in the glorious light of Lord Bahamut, and always remember to keep forging ahead. Take care.